Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby. This is Armors and Arrows. Today is a video that I really haven't wanted to make, but maybe after the video you'll understand where I have been and what's been going on. But first, if you are new here, thank you for stopping by. I make homestead, homeschool, blind motherhood related videos. So if any of that interests you, I'd love to have you stick around. So hit that red subscribe button down below and let me know if you're new here or if you've been here for a while in the comments. Okay, so I have a cup of tea because it's red raspberry leaf tea. The cup says, I don't know how well you can see this, but it says, look for the good and the beautiful today. I don't know, is it some new thing where people drink tea or something and make videos? I've seen that a lot lately, so maybe it's some new trend. I don't know. But I have this because it might be a little bit of a longer video and I'm going to want something to drink. So get a basket of laundry, something to drink, a snack, whatever, and let's get into it. Okay, so I've had 6 pregnancies. My first baby was placed for adoption, and then we have 5 kids, 8 and under. And we've always wanted to have a lot of kids. And we felt like the time was right. So we decided to try for another kid. And we got pregnant. But I felt like the implantation was later than normal, and it took a little bit longer to get a pregnancy test. And we got that pregnancy test and I was so excited. I contacted my midwife and I was just so excited. We were all so excited. The kids were so excited. My husband was excited. And we decided that we weren't going to tell anybody. I was going to wait and find out the gender of the baby when the baby was born. And I was going to be the one to announce it, not anybody else. I don't know. I was looking at different baby things. We now have a 2-story house instead of a 1-story house, and so I was like, well, maybe it would be nice to have an extra pack and play upstairs and then one downstairs. You know, looking into all those different things and thinking about those things. And I even bought some little white shirts for a baby that, you know, they were just gender neutral, whatever. And so I had some cramping at the beginning of the pregnancy, and it usually happened after I would go do something strenuous like chain up my big Great Pyrenees dogs. Sometimes they would give me a little bit of trouble, and so I'd have some cramping. And one day I was worried about it, and I texted my midwife and I was like, is that my body's way of saying I'm doing too much? And she said yes, or something. Basically, she acknowledged that like I was right. And so obviously when I felt that cramping and stuff, I would take a step back. Now, before my pregnancy, a couple months before at least, I started taking folic acid, the folate, the natural form of it. I started taking, you know, really making sure I was taking my prenatals all the time. I did cod liver oil, and I started a B complex as well as my vitamin D. So I just felt tired. I would go to sleep early. You know, I'd lay a kid down and I'd just go to sleep. But during the day, I didn't really have to take a nap. Like, I felt great. I was hardly nauseous, you know, nothing like that. And I thought, well, I know B6 can really help with nausea from what I've heard. I even ordered those C-band bracelet things just in case I needed them, and I didn't. And at first, if I didn't eat after a few hours, I would start to feel really sick, and so then I'd have to eat. But it's really the only time I felt nauseous. And at 8 weeks, I decided to use my at-home Doppler. Now, this is not medical advice or anything. If you choose to use an at-home Doppler, that is your choice. I'm not telling you to use one. I'm just telling you what I did in my experience. So I decided to do my at-home Doppler, and I didn't get a heartbeat. And I thought, well, it's probably because I'm 8 weeks and maybe this is just not picking it up. Now, in previous pregnancies, I've gotten the heartbeat on my at-home Doppler pretty early. So I was like, well, maybe this just isn't picking it up. Or maybe I was 9 weeks. I don't remember. But then I decided to try it. Well, when I was 10 weeks pregnant, I really wanted, my church was doing a fireside and I really, really wanted to go. But I didn't, it was like almost an hour drive there, and I didn't want my husband to have to drive me there and then wait about 2 hours during the thing and then drive an hour home with the kids, and then we would have gotten home really late and the kids would have been in bed really late. And anyways, I was like, no, you're not going to drive me. I'm going to find a way to go. And so that day I decided to text somebody, because I had posted on a group previously, like, anybody going? And I guess they didn't see it or something. But I texted somebody and she said, I'm not going, but I know some ladies who are, and I texted them. And so they called me and they were like, hey, we're going to go out to eat beforehand. Would you like to come with us? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I would love to come. So I went and I took my baby, who is almost a year, and we all went and we ate Mexican food, me and this group of ladies. And none of them knew I was pregnant. And I got like 2 enchiladas with cheese, 2 cheese enchiladas with cheese sauce. And then I ate a bunch of chips with a bunch of cheese sauce. Like, I was all about the cheese sauce. You guys can probably hear my goats out the window. But, so I ate that food and then went to this fireside and came home, and I was like, that was kind of fun. Like, I don't know, there were some things that I was just like, meh, but it was nice to go, and I'm glad I went. And I got home and I put my baby to bed, and then I went and fed my goats. And about a week or 2 before, so when I was like 8-ish weeks or so, I got a couple of baby goats, and I made a video about that, and I was going to edit it and put it up, but I just haven't felt like it. But anyways, I got a couple baby goats when I was like 8 weeks along, and when I got home that night from the fireside, I fed them, and then I decided I was like, well, I'm 10 weeks, surely I can get a heartbeat if my dates are right on the Doppler. So I went, and everybody was asleep. So there was like no room that I could go into, like no bed I could go into, and I didn't want to wake anybody up. I didn't feel like going downstairs because the goats were sleeping in our house in a kennel in the kitchen at night. They would go out during the day, but inside at night. And so if I would have went outside, or if I would have went downstairs, they would have heard me. So I went in my bathroom and I laid on my bathroom floor, and I turned on the Doppler and I tried to get a heartbeat. And I kind of thought, huh, this is weird. What's going on? Like, why am I not getting a heartbeat? I don't know. So I just thought, okay, well, my appointment's in a few days. I'm not going to worry. Everything's fine. And I had read on a couple posts, some people had posted about miscarriage, and I don't know why I read those posts, but I did. I was like, why? Like, I haven't experienced this before. This is my 7th pregnancy. Like, why am I reading these posts? But anyways, so I had read some posts about miscarriage previously. Like, maybe I subconsciously knew. I don't know. But I couldn't get the heartbeat, and I thought, well, my appointment's in a few days. Okay, I will just, you know, wait then, and maybe her Doppler's better and she can get a heartbeat, meaning her as my midwife. And so the next day was Sunday, and we decided to do church at home instead of go to church. And it was like around 12:30 or so in the afternoon. I had got the goat's milk ready and I ran out to feed them, but we were looking for our cats because for some reason at this time our cats disappeared. And so I was looking for our cats, and then I felt like what it would kind of feel like when you just start your period, and I thought, oh no, I'm pretty sure that's blood. Like, that is not normal. And so my plan was to like be outside with the goats for a while and play with them and pet them and everything. And instead of what happened was I just was like, all right, here's your milk. And they sucked it down really quick. I think they can hear me talking, which they're going to be really mad about because they want me. And I can't, like, I'm not bringing them up here. Anyways, so I fed them really quickly and I came inside and I put their bottles up and I ran upstairs to my bathroom and I was like, I could kind of tell that there was blood on the toilet paper. You just know, okay? Like, it was fresh blood and everything. Oh yeah, by the way, this is going to be TMI, so if you don't like that, then I'm sorry. You can click off and go watch something else of mine. But, so I texted my husband and I was like, hey, come up to our bathroom. And so he came up and I showed him. I was like, is this blood? And he's like, yep. And he's like, what do we do? Because I was like, oh no. This can't be good. He's like, what do we do? And I obviously had my phone with me, so I called my midwife, and she answered the phone like right away, and she's like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is not the phone call she was expecting. And I was like, hey, I'm bleeding. And she was like, oh, okay, well, how much is it? You know, she asked all the questions, and what we chose to do was what was right for us. So if you're going through a miscarriage or something similar to this, I want you to consult your healthcare provider and don't do what I did. It's what we felt was right for us and our situation. So she, you know, asked some questions and we gave her answers, and there wasn't really a ton of blood. It really wasn't that much, like, at that time. And so she said, just rest, drink lots of water, no lifting, just rest the rest of the day. And so I laid in my bed, put my baby to sleep, and I was crying because I was just like, I don't know what's going on. And I decided to get a blessing. And so we did that. And then that night came and went. Oh yeah, I scheduled an ultrasound for the very next morning. I was able to schedule that online. So the night came and went, and it was like, well, if I'm going to pass if I'm going to miscarry, you know, it'll probably be tonight or something is what I was thinking. But the night came and went, and there was still just not very much bleeding at all. And so I went to the ultrasound, and my midwife had called and told her what we were looking at. And my midwife was honest, you know, she said, this could be like, I think like a subchorionic hemorrhage or something, or, you know, this could be a miscarriage. We just don't know. And so she was honest about that up front. So she called the ultrasound tech and told her. And we went to the ultrasound. By the way, we were like 20 or 30 minutes late. I feel like we were running on time, and then right before we had to leave, everything kept happening, like just stupid stuff. And it was so frustrating. So we were 20, 30 minutes late, which, whatever. So we went, and the lady asked me, like, I got in the room, and my kids and husband were able to come in because it was a private practice. And so we got in the room. She was asking me questions and filling out this paper for me, and I had to sign it. And I just remember thinking the whole time, like, I just want to lay on the stupid table and do the stupid ultrasound. Like, come on. I don't want to answer these questions. It was just so annoying to me. I understand why they had to do it, but I was just so frustrated at the fact that, like, we had to fill out this paper. And I even thought to myself, can you just throw the paper at my husband and tell him to fill it out, because he knows most of the stuff. I just want to lay on the stupid table and find out what's going on inside me. And so at this point I was 10 weeks and 2 days. And so I was like, how long will it be before you can see something? And she's like, oh, pretty much right away. And I was like, hey, I need you to tell me what you see, like, as soon as you see it. And she's like, okay. So she looks, and then she's like, I'm gonna go look outside the uterus for a baby. And then she went and she looked back. She went and looked at the sac again, and she's like, there's no baby. You're having what's called a blighted ovum, or it's called anembryonic pregnancy is what they're calling it now. Basically where I guess like the egg just, it can develop the sac, but then nothing else really develops. And so she's like, I'm seeing no baby, but I'm going to take these measurements and look at, you know, your ovaries and everything. And so my kids are over there playing with toys. It was a really nice ultrasound room. And my oldest, who was supposed to be playing with toys, but he just wasn't, which whatever, I don't care. It's fine, because I think it's good for kids to experience something like this in case they have to go through it when they're older. But I don't know if he was looking at the screen or just listening to kind of what she was saying, but she said, I see an empty sac, and then he just started asking like, where's the baby? Why don't I see the baby? Where's the heartbeat? And that's, I think, like, I told myself, like, if there's no baby or something, I'm going to go in, I'm going to hold it together. But for some reason, when he was like, where's the baby? Why don't I see the baby? Like, that's when I lost it. And so my husband came over, and I was just crying. And I was like, I'm just not going to cry. Like, I'm going to wait until we're in the car. And so I just was like crying on the table, and I called my dad for a second. I don't know why. I just did for some reason. And then I got off the phone with him, and I was just like all annoyed. Like, he obviously wasn't going to fix it. So I don't know why. And he didn't even know I was pregnant. But you know, she's like, there's the sac, and it looks, you know, it measures it 7 weeks and 1 day is when the sac stopped growing. And so I guess you can lose the baby between like 8 and 12 weeks or 10 and 12 weeks, you know, lose it, actually have the miscarriage. If you have a blighted ovum, it can take, you know, that long. So I was 10 weeks and 2 days. And the ultrasound tech was just saying a bunch of stuff, and I was like, okay. Like, listening, but everything she was saying, I just felt numb after I stopped crying. So she retold my husband everything, and I fed my baby. I nursed him, the one that was like a year old. He's almost a year. But he just kept coming over and whining at me while I was on the ultrasound table. And so I don't know, he knew something was wrong, I think. But I fed him, and then I put him in his car seat, and we left, and I was just so numb. And we were going to go to one restaurant, but then I just didn't feel like it. So we drove and went to McAllister's, which I didn't feel like going there either. But I knew I needed to eat. And the midwife texted me and said, you know, I could call her when I felt like talking. And so I called her, even though I didn't feel like talking. I probably should have waited until I got home. And she talked to me and said some stuff, and I listened to what she had to say, but it just kind of went in one ear and it went out the other. And so we got our lunch and came home, and then, well, we ate our lunch there, and they put stupid tomatoes on my sandwich. I don't like tomatoes, and I almost started crying over tomatoes on my sandwich because that's how I was that day. And it was a very rainy, like, it was very cloudy. It rained quite a bit of the day. The weather fit my mood pretty good, I think, because of just how sad I was. So we got home, and my husband had to go to work. So me and the kids just hung out and watched TV because I just didn't care. I mean, I did care, but that's just what we did. And I was like, all right. So, you know, what I chose was right for me. It may not be right for you, but this is what I chose. I could have done some type of pill, like, I can't remember, maybe it's called Cytotec or something, or I could have had a DNC, but neither of those options were really discussed, because in my mind it was like, we're just gonna pass this at home. So those options really weren't discussed. They would have been discussed if I would have needed them, but I didn't. So it was kind of a waiting game to see when I would pass. You know, I was just gonna wait and see when everything would pass. And the midwife told me the bleeding shouldn't be more than my postpartum bleeding, because, you know, that's what she thought and everything. But it was still pretty light at this point. And then later that day, like towards the evening, I called her again, my midwife, to talk to her about everything we talked about earlier that day, because I just couldn't really remember, and I just talked to her about, you know, stuff and whatnot. And then I asked if I could use essential oils, and she said you could use clary sage. You know, she told me I could. Well, I didn't have straight clary sage. I had a blend. It had clary sage, lavender, frankincense, and I can't remember what else. I know it's mixed with, you know, it's diluted with fractionated coconut oil, but it's got something else in it. And so my husband got home, and I asked him to bring a rotisserie chicken and stuff, because I just felt really blah, and obviously wasn't going to be cooking. So he was getting all that ready, and I took a shower, and I used some of that clary sage blend that I made. I had made it like several months beforehand, that's why I had it. But I used that like kind of across the bottom of my abdomen area, above my pubic bone. I rubbed it across there a couple times, and I noticed that the bleeding had started picking up after my shower, which I don't know if it was the shower, I don't know if it was rubbing the clary sage on there. And then I decided to drink red raspberry leaf tea, and so I did. And then the bleeding just definitely really picked up. I used cloth pads, and that's what I was using, but I was running through them so fast that I had to use disposable. The bleeding was really, it was worse than any of my postpartum bleedings ever. It was very terrible. I felt terrible. I was passing big clots, not huge clots, but I was passing, you know, good sized clots. And to me, there was just a lot of blood, a lot of bleeding, and I felt terrible. I felt so horrible. At one point, I got up and went and used the bathroom, and then I called for my husband because I needed him to come stand and kind of help me if I needed it, while I washed myself off in the shower with our sprayer thing, because we have a sprayer. I didn't want to take a whole shower, but we had a sprayer that I was able to spray off with as I was just standing there crying, and because I just felt terrible. And then he held on to me while I walked back to bed, and he got me food. This was in the middle of the night, and this hurt too. Like, all of it hurt. I felt like I would feel something like ripping away from the inside of my uterus, and then about 5 or 10 minutes later I would pass a clot and have to go to the bathroom, and then repeat the cycle. And I just felt like stuff was just like, I felt like it tearing away from my uterus. I don't know if you can relate, but that's just how it felt. And so if I had to get up and go to the bathroom, I would wake him up if I felt like I needed it, just so he was awake, so he could help me up in there to the bathroom, and he would get me food and water and things like that. And I just remember like laying in my bed one time after going to the bathroom, and I was like, this is so gross, and I feel bad, and I was crying so hard, and I was like, this hurts. Like, why do I have to go through this? What happened to this baby? Because to us, like, even if there was no heartbeat or, you know, fetal pull or anything, there was just the sac, to us that's still a baby. Like, we are thinking of that as a baby. So I was just crying a lot in my bed for a little bit, and you know, because everything hurt, and I was telling him how it hurt, and he's like, you can take some ibuprofen. And I was like, but I didn't really take pain medicine. I had it for the first one, I had an epidural, but after that I did them all natural. And so I was like, why am I not doing this one natural? And he's like, Shelby, it's different. So finally I ended up taking pain medicine like at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I just laid there and cried, and I'm like, why is this happening? And you know, obviously he didn't have answers. Nobody has answers as to what happened. It could have been something chromosomal that didn't form right with the egg and the sperm, and that's why. Maybe two eggs hit the sperm, and you know, just something, we don't know. No one knows what happened. So I just cried a lot, and then I would sleep here and there, but I didn't sleep very much that night, and I hurt really bad. I'm trying to think of how to explain it, but it's a different kind of pain than giving birth. And so my bleeding slowed down that Tuesday morning, so it lasted, like, the heavy stuff lasted for like 10-ish hours or so. And it slowed down to a regular period bleeding. I did take ibuprofen finally, like I said, and I think I only had to take it once. And I made sure to drink. We have liquid IV. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And I didn't think about bringing some up here, but we have liquid IV. And so I drink a couple, there are packs of it, and I put those in water bottles, and I drink a couple of those throughout the day, plus water, plus I had my husband make some red raspberry leaf tea. But I really couldn't get up and do much. Like, we did blood work to see what my levels were after, you know, all the blood loss, and my levels were still really, really good. They are, well, I shouldn't say really, really good, but they were still good, like above 11. But apparently that was too low for my body, or maybe my body was just in shock. I don't know, but I couldn't really get up and do much. And I asked my husband to order pizza that night, that Tuesday night, and I ate it, but I ate it, but I didn't taste it. And so my bleeding lasted about a week. Like, the heavy stuff lasted 10-ish hours, and then the rest, you know, lasted 5-ish days after that. And it was really just light bleeding, like a period, maybe a little less. And so I was really sad. I cried some, and then I'd be fine and like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. This is, you know, for some reason this happened. There was nothing I could have done. And then I'd feel okay, and then I'd get really sad again. And I put it out there, you know, because I feel like it's not talked about much. And so I put it out there on my Facebook, and people were, you know, apologetic and stuff, which is fine. But I still felt alone. Like, I have someone in my family, I could talk to her about it, but for some reason I've just felt really alone. And then the hurtful comments that people have said, like, well, at least you have your other kids, or, well, why were you pregnant in the first place? You know, you already have a bunch of kids, so why were you pregnant? Does it really matter that you lost this baby? Yes, this baby was loved. This baby was wanted. Like, it does matter. Each baby matters. But just the hurtful comments about, you know, well, you already have other kids, or like I just said, you know, just those things are really hurtful. And I know that people take different paths in life, but that doesn't mean we need to sit around and judge each other. And honestly, I felt really alone. Like, I really have no one to talk to about this. I found some videos about specifically a blighted ovum on YouTube. And so I've watched those, and those were kind of helpful to know what, you know, like what others went through. A lot of those that I saw were first-time moms, and that's fine. But this can happen even if you're not a first-time mom. And I don't know why it happened. I had had 6 perfectly healthy pregnancies beforehand with no miscarriage or anything. And so this was just like, why? I just kept asking, like, why? Why is this happening? And some days, it's been about 3 weeks since it happened. Some days I'm fine and I'm perfectly fine. I'm just like, okay, whatever. And then other days I'm just really upset. I'm really sad. I feel kind of angry. And food has pretty much, like, I've eaten, but it's just kind of been tasteless to me, if that makes any sense. Like, I know I need to eat, but blah. I'll eat it anyway, so. But today I woke up and I was like, Olive Garden sounds really good, so. And I was like, but I feel really weird saying that because nothing has really sounded good to me for quite a while, you know, ever since this happened. And so my husband was like, all right, let's go to Olive Garden. And by the way, if you're still watching, everybody needs a husband like mine. Okay, apparently I've been talking for quite a while because my camera, it only records for a certain amount of time, and I've been talking for that amount of time. So, he cleaned up the bathroom after everything. He, you know, fed all the animals. And when I got the goats, I said like, oh, you won't have to help with the goats. It's just going to be my thing. You know, I don't want to add something else and have you feel stressed out. But he ended up having to do the goats for a couple days because I just couldn't really get up and like walk around a ton. Anyways, everybody just needs a husband like mine, but you can't have mine. So anyways, I was like, that sounds really good. Nothing has really sounded good ever since the whole miscarriage. And so he's like, okay, let's go to Olive Garden. And so we did, and I ate a bunch of food. And that was like 6 or 7 hours ago, and I'm finally starting to feel hungry again because I just stuffed my stomach with a bunch of food while I was there. I got the soup and the breadsticks and the Alfredo. But so I have, you know, hard days, and I think people think that I'm okay, but nobody really asks how I'm doing. Like, I have a couple people who ask, but then I'll hear from other people, oh, well, so-and-so said you're doing okay. I don't know how they would know if I was doing okay because they don't ask me. Like, how can you sit there and say that I'm doing okay if you don't even ask me? I don't know. I just feel sometimes I just feel frustrated, and like, I thought my family would care more. There have been a couple people in my family, but then basically everybody else is just like, well, you already have a bunch of kids. So that's been really hard because I thought I would have more care from them, if that makes sense. And then I just feel overall, you know, sadness. Like, I would be over 12 weeks. I would be like 13 weeks now, you know, into my second trimester and just different things like that. And so that kind of makes me feel a little bit sad, you know, and I don't know, years from now I might wonder like, what would that baby have been like? So yeah, it's been about 3 weeks and that's how I'm doing. I wonder if my kids went to sleep. It's really quiet now. But you know, only time is gonna help, I think, you know, and it may be something it's like where I don't think about it as much. And I've been trying to keep myself busy, but like, I just haven't wanted to do a whole lot. Like, I haven't wanted to do videos and things like that. This is actually the first video I've made since I had the miscarriage. And I have stuff to edit, but like, I haven't even wanted to get on the computer and do that. So we'll see how long it takes me to get up or edit this. I may just post it as is and not really cut anything out because I don't know. Some days I feel like doing more than others, you know? And the last few days especially have been really good. And I've been spending more time outside and spending time with my goats. My goats, especially one of them, she was about a week old, I think, when we got her. And she didn't take the bottle very well. So I basically had to force feed her, and I would snuggle her like her mom, you know, I'd cover her eyes and stuff like that and kind of hold her a certain way that I read to do. And so now she sees me and she's always like, meh, meh, and I pick her up and she loves to just put her head under my neck and snuggle up. She, I think, is going to be a big snuggler, but I can't snuggle a 60-pound goat. I mean, I guess I can try. But anyways, so I think getting the goats was a good thing, even though, yes, having bottle baby goats is more work. I think it has been a good thing because, like, I have to go outside to feed them. I can't not feed them. You know, I have to go play with them outside. And so I'll go sit outside in the sun. Sometimes when it's cloudy, I'll go out too. But just trying to like make myself go out and do things. Doing things that I enjoy. I have to start doing that again. And you guys are probably wondering, what does the future hold for us? Well, we want to try again for more kids. When we decide to do that is between us, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to put it out here like, oh, we're going to try after a miscarriage, or if I'm just going to let it happen and then announce, oh, we're having a baby or something. I don't know. But whenever we decide to try is between us, and I got the clear to try whenever we wanted. And, you know, whenever we feel like we want to try again, we will. And I just have to remember to ignore people's negative comments, because I think they're hurting themselves more than they're hurting me. And why do they think they need to make those comments? I don't know. But today at Olive Garden, like, someone was going to pay for our food, but we had checked out like just a minute before they paid for it, or we're going to pay. So they bought us a dessert. And so that made me happy. I don't know why I told you guys that, but I did. I think we know who it was. It was an older couple. But yeah, we do want more kids. I don't know how this is going to make me feel in my next pregnancy. I may be more anxious and like, okay, we need to get an early ultrasound. You know, I don't know if I would have done things differently if we would have gotten an earlier ultrasound in this one, because I wasn't planning on getting an early ultrasound. I didn't really think it was necessary. But, so with the next pregnancy, I don't know if we'll get an early ultrasound, or, I mean, I'm sure, I'm thinking we will. I just don't know how far along. Maybe at 7 or 8 weeks, just to kind of see what's going on. I don't know. But, oh yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about is I've never gone through a miscarriage with an OB, but I have seen OBs and deliveries, and, you know, I've delivered with OBs and whatnot. But I am really grateful that I had a midwife who really truly cared about her clients and really truly cared about me as a person, and there was no judgment. Even when I texted her and was like, hey, you want to hang out again after I got the positive pregnancy test, like, she knew exactly what I meant. And I was able to call her and talk to her for a little bit about everything. There was no judgment from her at all. When I had the miscarriage, you know, when everything started, she was there. She was so supportive, and she still is. I could text her or call her right now if I wanted to and be like, hey, I'm having a horrible day. Just having the support of having a midwife through this has meant a lot to me, and having them, you know, the person I chose for midwife, it just has meant so much to me that she's been there. And I don't feel like I would have gotten that from an OB. So I am just really grateful that I have my midwife and her team, or, well, my team that I handpicked the people I wanted at my births. And my midwife let the people know who were at my last 2 births, like, hey, this is what's going on with Shelby. And one of them texted me and was like, hey, I'm here if you know, need to talk or ever want to talk. And that's the thing, like, I'm having a hard time just calling up people to talk to them about it, because I don't want to be a burden, and then some days I just don't feel like talking to anybody. So, I don't know. I'm just really grateful for the team, the birth team I've had for my babies, the last couple babies, and that they were able to be there for this. They weren't like physically here the whole time at all, but they were there, you know, just a phone call or text away. So I don't know even how long this video is going to be. I feel like I'm probably not really going to edit it, because I don't know, I just kind of want it to come out raw. And so I know it's going to be at least 30 minutes, probably longer. If you're still here, give this video a big thumbs up and leave me a comment down below, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.